Part 1. A Signal in the Noise. In a quiet town where nothing ever seemed to change, 17-year-old Alex Carter felt like he was living in slow motion while the rest of the world raced ahead. The streets were familiar, the people predictable, and the future, at least the one everyone expected him to follow, felt painfully small. His parents wanted stability for him, a degree, a job, a safe life. But Alex couldn't ignore the feeling that something bigger was happening beyond the limits of his town. One night, while scrolling endlessly online, he stumbled upon a discussion about cryptocurrency. Words like blockchain, decentralization, and Bitcoin filled the screen. At first, it sounded confusing, almost like a different language, but one sentence caught his attention. "This is the future of money." He leaned closer to the screen. The idea that money could exist without banks, without borders, without control, it fascinated him. People in the discussion were talking about turning small investments into life-changing wealth. Others warned about losing everything overnight. It wasn't just opportunity, it was risk, real risk. And for some reason, that made it even more interesting. Over the next few weeks, Alex became obsessed. He watched videos late into the night, read articles, joined forums, and tried to understand how it all worked. Most of it didn't make sense at first. Charts looked like chaos, prices moved unpredictably. Stories of success were often followed by stories of devastating losses. But one thing became clear. This wasn't a game. This was a battlefield, and people either learned fast or paid the price. Alex didn't have much money, just a small amount he had saved from part-time work. It wasn't enough to change his life, but it was enough to start. Before investing a single dollar, he made himself a promise. "I won't treat this like gambling. I will learn before I earn." Still, deep inside, he knew the truth. No matter how much he studied, stepping into crypto meant stepping into uncertainty. And uncertainty doesn't care how prepared you think you are. One evening, with his heart pounding, Alex created his first crypto wallet. The screen asked him to confirm his decision. There was no turning back after this. He paused, took a breath, then clicked confirm. In that moment, without realizing it, Alex had just taken his first step into one of the most volatile and potentially rewarding journeys of his life. And he had no idea what was coming next. Part 2. First Trade, First Shock. Alex stared at the screen as numbers flickered in real time. Red, green, red again. It felt alive. After days of research, he finally made his first move. He bought a small amount of Bitcoin. It wasn't much, just enough to feel involved. His hands were slightly shaking as he clicked the button. Buy confirmed. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the price moved. Up. A small increase, but enough to trigger something inside him. Excitement rushed through his chest. It felt almost too easy. "Is this it?" he whispered to himself. "Do people really make money like this?" Within hours, his balance had grown. Not by much, but enough to make him believe. That belief became dangerous. The next day, he checked again. The number was lower. Significantly lower. His small profit had disappeared, and now he was in the negative. His heart dropped. What happened? He refreshed the page again and again, as if the numbers would correct themselves. They didn't. Welcome to volatility. No warning, no explanation, just movement. This was his first real lesson. Crypto didn't care about emotions. It didn't reward hope. And it didn't forgive ignorance. That night, Alex barely slept. He replayed every decision in his mind. Should I sell? Should I wait? What if it keeps dropping? Fear replaced excitement. By morning, the price had dropped even more. He panicked, and he sold. Loss locked in. The moment he sold, the market bounced back. He watched the price rise again, higher than where he originally bought. His stomach twisted. He had done everything wrong. Bought high, sold low. exactly what experienced traders warned about. That day hit him harder than he expected, not because of the money, he hadn't lost much, but because he realized something important. Emotion was his biggest enemy. Crypto wasn't just about charts or coins, it was about discipline. And without it, losses weren't a possibility, they were inevitable. That evening, instead of quitting, Alex did something different. He wrote down everything that went wrong, every mistake, every emotional reaction, every bad decision. He didn't want to forget this feeling, because this loss, small as it was the cheapest lesson he would ever get. And he knew one thing for sure: if he didn't learn from it, the next lesson would cost him a lot more. Part 3. Chasing the market. After his first loss, Alex promised himself he would be smarter, more disciplined, more patient. But the market had other plans. Everywhere he looked, people were talking about the next big coin. Social media was full of screenshots showing massive profits. Videos claimed, "This coin will 10x," or "Don't miss this opportunity." It was overwhelming and addictive. Alex told himself he wouldn't fall for hype. But then he saw it, a small cryptocurrency suddenly exploding in price, charts shooting upward, comments flooding in, people claiming they were getting rich overnight. His mind started racing. What if this is real? What if I miss it? That feeling had a name: FOMO, fear of missing out, and it was stronger than logic. Without doing proper research, without understanding the project, Alex bought in. The price kept rising. For a moment, it felt like he had finally figured it out. His balance jumped quickly, faster than anything he had seen before. He smiled, his heart pounded with excitement. This is it. This is how people win. But just as quickly as it rose, it dropped. Hard. The chart didn't just go down, it collapsed. Panic spread across forums. Comments turned from excitement to fear within minutes. People were selling fast, trying to escape. Alex froze. Should I sell? Should I hold? His mind went blank. The price kept falling and falling. By the time he reacted, it was too late. Most of his investment was gone. This loss hurt more than the first one, because this time he knew better, or at least he thought he did. That night, Alex didn't feel angry. He felt humbled. He realized something critical. The crypto market wasn't just risky because of volatility. It was risky because of people. Hype, manipulation, herd mentality. If you followed the crowd blindly, you became exit liquidity, someone else's profit. The next day, Alex made a decision. No more chasing coins, no more emotional trades, no more shortcuts. He began studying fundamentals. What makes a project valuable? What problems it solves? Who is behind it? He learned about market cycles, liquidity, and risk management. It was slower, less exciting, but it felt real. For the first time, he stopped trying to get rich quickly and started trying to get better, because he understood now. In crypto, survival comes before success, and if you can't survive the chaos, you'll never reach the opportunity hidden inside it. Part 4. Learning the game. Alex stopped trading for a while. Not because he lost interest, but because he realized he didn't truly understand the game he was playing. And crypto was a game. A high-risk, high-reward environment where knowledge was your only real advantage. Every evening after school, instead of checking prices, he studied. Not quick videos promising easy money, but deeper content. Long lectures, technical breakdowns, white papers. At first, it was overwhelming. Terms like market cap, liquidity, tokenomics, and blockchain consensus felt like pieces of a puzzle he couldn't yet see. But slowly, things started connecting. He learned that not all cryptocurrencies were equal. Some had real technology behind them, real teams, real use cases. Others were built purely on hype, designed to attract attention, pump in value, and disappear. He also discovered something that changed everything. Most people in crypto weren't investing. They were reacting. Reacting to news, reacting to fear, reacting to excitement. And reactions, he realized, are predictable. If he could control his own reactions while understanding others, he could position himself differently. Not as part of the crowd, but ahead of it. He started small again. Very small. This time, before making any move, he wrote down a plan. Why am I buying? Where will I exit if I'm wrong? Where will I take profit if I'm right? No more guessing. No more emotional decisions. His first few trades under this new system were quiet. No big wins, but also no big losses. That alone felt like progress. Weeks passed, then months. Alex wasn't chasing fast money anymore. He was building skill. And with skill came something he hadn't felt before: control. Not over the market, that was impossible, but over himself. And in a market driven by chaos, that was powerful. Still, he didn't fool himself. Crypto remained dangerous, unpredictable. Even experienced traders lost money. Even strong projects failed. He wrote it clearly at the top of his notebook. This is high risk. Never invest what you can't afford to lose. It wasn't just a warning, it was a rule that would protect him as things grew bigger. Because deep down, Alex knew this was only the beginning. And the deeper he went into this world, the higher the stakes would become. Part 4. Learning the game. Alex stopped trading for a while. Not because he lost interest, but because he realized he didn't truly understand the game he was playing. And crypto was a game. A high-risk, high-reward environment where knowledge was your only real advantage. Every evening after school, instead of checking prices, he studied. Not quick videos promising easy money, but deeper content, long lectures, technical breakdowns, white papers. At first, it was overwhelming. Terms like market cap, liquidity, tokenomics, and blockchain consensus felt like pieces of a puzzle he couldn't yet see. But slowly, things started connecting. He learned that not all cryptocurrencies were equal. Some had real technology behind them, real teams, real use cases. Others were built purely on hype, designed to attract attention, pump in value, and disappear. He also discovered something that changed everything. Most people in crypto weren't investing, they were reacting. Reacting to news, reacting to fear, reacting to excitement. And reactions, he realized, are predictable. If he could control his own reactions while understanding others, he could position himself differently, not as part of the crowd, but ahead of it. He started small again, very small. This time, before making any move, he wrote down a plan. Why am I buying? Where will I exit if I'm wrong? Where will I take profit if I'm right? No more guessing. No more emotional decisions. His first few trades under this new system were quiet. No big wins, but also no big losses. That alone felt like progress. Weeks passed, then months. Alex wasn't chasing fast money anymore. He was building skill. And with skill came something he hadn't felt before: control. Not over the market, that was impossible, but over himself. And in a market driven by chaos, that was powerful. Still, he didn't fool himself. Crypto remained dangerous, unpredictable. Even experienced traders lost money. Even strong projects failed. He wrote it clearly at the top of his notebook. This is high risk. Never invest what you can't afford to lose. It wasn't just a warning, it was a rule that would protect him as things grew bigger. Because deep down, Alex knew this was only the beginning. And the deeper he went into this world, the higher the stakes would become. Part 6. The illusion of control. After his first real win, something subtle began to change in Alex. Confidence. At first, it was quiet, controlled. He still followed his plan, still documented his trades, still respected risk. But success has a way of whispering dangerous thoughts. You're figuring this out. You're different from others. Maybe you can push a little more. Alex didn't notice when confidence slowly turned into overconfidence. He increased his position sizes, not recklessly, but noticeably. He began entering trades faster, sometimes skipping full analysis. I already understand this, he would tell himself. And for a while, it worked. Small wins stacked on top of each other. His account grew steadily. The numbers became more meaningful now. Losing them would actually matter. That should have made him more cautious. Instead, it made him feel stronger. Then came the trade. A new project launched, backed by a well-known name in the crypto space. Early investors were excited. Social media buzzed again, but this time, Alex believed he could navigate it. This isn't like before, he thought. I know what I'm doing now. He entered early. The price surged. His position quickly went into profit. Instead of taking partial gains like he normally would, he held everything. It's going higher. Greed replaced discipline. Then, without warning, the market reversed. Sharp. Violent. The price dropped faster than he expected. Alex froze for a moment. Then panic hit. He tried to exit, but liquidity was thin. Slippage hit hard. By the time his trade closed, a large portion of his recent profits had vanished. Not all, but enough to hurt. More than the loss itself, what hit him hardest was the realization he had broken his own rules. Not because he didn't know better, but because he thought he was better. That night, Alex didn't open charts. He didn't check prices. He sat in silence, staring at his notebook. Every lesson he had written, he had ignored, and the market had punished him instantly. Crypto didn't care about past success. It didn't reward ego. It reset everyone to zero the moment discipline was lost. Alex took a deep breath and wrote one line. The market doesn't beat me. I beat myself. It was a hard truth, but a necessary one. Because if he wanted to go further, he couldn't just improve his strategy. He had to master himself. And that was the hardest part of all. Part 7. Risk becomes real. The loss in the previous trade didn't wipe Alex out, but it changed how he felt about the numbers on his screen. Before, losses were lessons. Now they were real. Because his account had grown, the stakes had grown with it. What once felt like small fluctuations now carried weight. A bad decision could erase weeks, sometimes months of progress. For the first time, Alex truly understood risk, not as a concept, but as pressure. He stepped away from trading again, but this time not to learn basics, to reassess everything. He reviewed his trade history in detail, every entry, every exit, every emotional mistake. Patterns started to appear. His best trades came from patience. His worst came from urgency. His biggest losses came when he increased risk too quickly. And his most dangerous enemy wasn't the market, it was inconsistency. Alex realized something most beginners never fully accept. You don't lose money because the market is unfair. You lose money because you don't manage risk. That realization forced him to evolve. He reduced his position sizes. He set strict limits. Never risk more than a small percentage per trade. Always define the exit before entering. Never chase after missed opportunities. It felt restrictive, slower, almost frustrating, but it gave him something powerful: stability. Weeks went by with controlled trades, some wins, some losses, but overall, steady growth. No emotional spikes, no panic decisions, just consistency. And with consistency came clarity. Alex started seeing the market differently now, not as a place to get rich quickly, but as an environment to operate within carefully. Like walking on thin ice. Possible, but only if you respect it. Around this time, he discovered another side of crypto. Not just trading, but building. People weren't just making money from price movements, they were creating projects, platforms, communities, entire businesses. This idea stuck with him. Trading felt temporary. Building felt scalable, sustainable, but also risky in a completely different way. Because in crypto, businesses could grow fast and collapse even faster. Alex leaned back in his chair, thinking. For months, he had been learning how to survive the market, but maybe the real opportunity wasn't just surviving it. Maybe it was creating something inside it, something bigger than trades, something that didn't depend only on price. The thought was exciting and terrifying at the same time, because stepping from trader to builder meant stepping into a whole new level of uncertainty. Part 8. From trader to builder. The idea wouldn't leave Alex alone. For days, he couldn't stop thinking about it. Trading had taught him discipline, patience, and risk management, But it also had limits. Profits depended on timing, market conditions, and constant attention. Building something, on the other hand, that was different. It could grow, scale, create value beyond charts. But it also came with a new kind of risk, one that couldn't be solved with a stop loss. Failure here meant time lost, reputation damaged, and sometimes money gone without any recovery. Still, Alex felt pulled toward it. He began exploring deeper into the crypto ecosystem, not just coins, but platforms, exchanges, decentralized applications, communities forming around ideas. That's when he noticed something, a gap. Many beginners were entering crypto just like he had, confused, emotional, and unprepared. They were making the same mistakes he had already survived. Bad entries, panic selling, falling for hype, losing money. What if he could help them? Not with promises of easy profit, but with education, real lessons, clear explanations, honest warnings about risk. He started small, a simple online page, no big branding, no exaggeration, just content, explaining basics, sharing his journey, breaking down mistakes. At first, no one paid attention. A few views, a few comments, mostly silence. But Alex kept going. Consistency had worked in trading. Maybe it would work here too. Weeks turned into months. Slowly, people started responding. "Thank you, this helped me avoid a bad trade. I wish I knew this earlier. This actually makes sense." It wasn't massive growth, but it was real, and it felt different from trading profits. More meaningful, but also more demanding. Creating content required time, energy, and patience with no guaranteed return. And in crypto, attention can disappear as quickly as it appears. Alex understood something clearly. This path was just as risky as trading, just in a different way. No certainty, no guarantees, but potential, real potential. He wasn't just participating in the crypto world anymore. He was starting to shape a small part of it. And for the first time, he saw a future where his success didn't depend only on market movements, but on the value he could create. Still, deep down, he knew this was only the beginning, and the challenges ahead would be bigger than anything he had faced so far. Part 9. Growth and Pressure. At first, Alex's project grew slowly. A few followers turned into a few hundred, then a few thousand. People began sharing his content. His explanations were simple, honest, and different from the usual hype-filled promises. He didn't say, "You'll get rich." He said, "You can lose everything if you don't understand what you're doing." That honesty built trust, and trust grew faster than he expected. Soon his inbox filled with messages, questions about trading, investing, scams, and mistakes. Beginners were looking to him for guidance. That was exciting, but also dangerous, because now responsibility entered the picture. Alex realized something serious. If people followed his ideas blindly and lost money, it could hurt them, and it could destroy his credibility. So he made a rule: never give direct financial advice. Always emphasize risk. Teach thinking, not decisions. Still, pressure built. As his audience grew, expectations grew with it. People wanted faster answers, clearer signals, shortcuts. But Alex refused. He had learned the hard way. There were no shortcuts in crypto, only risk. Around this time, he decided to take things further. He created a structured learning program, a place where beginners could understand crypto step by step, how markets work, how to manage risk, how to avoid common traps. It wasn't cheap, and that made him nervous. Charging money meant higher expectations, more pressure, more responsibility. What if it fails, he thought. What if people don't see value? But he moved forward anyway. The first launch was small. A handful of people joined. He worked harder than ever before, answering questions, improving lessons, refining everything. Then something happened. Results. Not overnight success, but improvement. People started avoiding bad trades, managing risk better, thinking clearly, and they shared their progress. More people joined. Momentum built. But with growth came new challenges: criticism, doubt, competitors. Some people accused him of selling dreams, others questioned his experience. It hit him harder than he expected. For the first time, Alex felt exposed. In trading, losses were private, and building, everything was visible, and not everyone wanted to see him succeed. He sat back one night, exhausted, staring at his screen. "This is harder than trading," he said quietly. And it was true, because now it wasn't just about his own money, it was about trust. And in crypto, trust is one of the most fragile things you can build. Part 9. Growth and Pressure. At first, Alex's project grew slowly. A few followers turned into a few hundred, then a few thousand. People began sharing his content. His explanations were simple, honest, and different from the usual hype-filled promises. He didn't say, "You'll get rich." He said, "You can lose everything if you don't understand what you're doing." That honesty built trust, and trust grew faster than he expected. Soon his inbox filled with messages, questions about trading, investing, scams, and mistakes. Beginners were looking to him for guidance. That was exciting, but also dangerous, because now responsibility entered the picture. Alex realized something serious. If people followed his ideas blindly and lost money, it could hurt them, and it could destroy his credibility. So he made a rule: never give direct financial advice. Always emphasize risk. Teach thinking, not decisions. Still, pressure built. As his audience grew, expectations grew with it. People wanted faster answers, clearer signals, shortcuts. But Alex refused. He had learned the hard way: there were no shortcuts in crypto, only risk. Around this time, he decided to take things further. He created a structured learning program, a place where beginners could understand crypto step by step, how markets work, how to manage risk, how to avoid common traps. It wasn't cheap, and that made him nervous. Charging money meant higher expectations, more pressure, more responsibility. What if it fails, he thought? What if people don't see value? But he moved forward anyway. The first launch was small. A handful of people joined. He worked harder than ever before, answering questions, improving lessons, refining everything. Then something happened. Results. Not overnight success, but improvement. People started avoiding bad trades, managing risk better, thinking clearly, and they shared their progress. More people joined. Momentum built. But with growth came new challenges: criticism, doubt, competitors. Some people accused him of selling dreams, others questioned his experience. It hit him harder than he expected. For the first time, Alex felt exposed. In trading, losses were private, and building, everything was visible, and not everyone wanted to see him succeed. He sat back one night, exhausted, staring at his screen. "This is harder than trading," he said quietly. And it was true, because now it wasn't just about his own money, it was about trust. And in crypto, trust is one of the most fragile things you can build. Part 11. The Turning Point. The market stayed cold longer than anyone expected. Weeks turned into months, and many crypto projects that once looked promising slowly faded into silence. Communities shrank, developers abandoned ideas, investors moved on. But Alex didn't stop. He adapted. Instead of focusing on growth, he focused on stability. Instead of chasing new users, he focused on supporting the ones who stayed. He noticed something important during this period. The people who survived the crash weren't the ones who made the most money during the boom. They were the ones who understood risk. That insight reshaped everything he was building. Alex began restructuring his entire platform. He removed anything that felt like hype. He simplified lessons further. He added entire sections dedicated only to losses, emotional control, and survival strategies. Some people questioned it. Why focus so much on negativity, they asked. But Alex knew the answer, because ignoring risk was what destroyed most beginners. Slowly, something began to shift. The people who remained became stronger learners. They started treating crypto less like a lottery and more like a skill. They stopped asking, "What should I buy?" and started asking, "How do I think correctly?" That change meant everything. Meanwhile, Alex himself was changing too. He wasn't the same teenager who once chased quick profits. He wasn't even the same trader who once learned discipline through losses. Now he was becoming something else, a builder of systems, a teacher of principles. But with that came a new kind of pressure, because now people weren't just learning from him, they were relying on him. And responsibility changes how you move. Every decision mattered more. Every mistake could affect others. One evening, after reading dozens of messages, Alex leaned back in his chair and realized something unsettling. He couldn't afford to fail casually anymore. Before, failure was personal. Now, failure had consequences beyond him. And that meant one thing. He had to become even more careful than before. Not just in trading, not just in building, but in everything. Because now, his journey wasn't just about success. It was about responsibility. And responsibility, he was starting to learn, was heavier than money. Part 12. Pressure of Leadership. As Alex's platform stabilized, something unexpected happened. People began calling him a leader. At first, he rejected the idea. "I'm just sharing what I learned," he would say. But leadership doesn't always come from titles. It comes from influence, and influence brings pressure. Every message he posted was analyzed. Every recommendation, even when it wasn't financial advice, was interpreted in different ways. People looked to him not just for knowledge, but for direction. That made Alex more careful than ever, sometimes too careful. He spent hours rewriting simple explanations, afraid of being misunderstood. He delayed posts, questioning every sentence. The fear of making a mistake started slowing him down. And in business, hesitation can be dangerous. During this time, a competitor emerged, someone louder, faster, and more aggressive. They promised big results, used bold claims, and attracted attention quickly. Many of Alex's audience members started drifting away. "Maybe this new guy knows more," some said. For a moment, Alex felt something unfamiliar: replacement. He watched growth slow while others surged, and it hurt. Not because of money, but because of doubt. Am I doing this wrong? But then he remembered something important. He had never built his work on hype. He had built it on truth. So instead of changing direction, he refined his approach even further. He doubled down on clarity, simplicity, and realism. He introduced case studies, not wins only, but failures too. He showed what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how to avoid repeating it. Slowly, something shifted again. The people who stayed were not just followers anymore. They were learners, builders in their own right. And while growth was slower, it became deeper, more stable, more meaningful. One day, a message stood out among hundreds. "I lost money before I found your content. Now I finally understand why. Thank you for not lying to us." Alex stared at it for a long time, because in that moment he understood something clearly. Real success wasn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It was about being the one people could trust when everything else failed. And trust takes time to build, but only seconds to lose. Part 13. The first real breakthrough. It didn't happen suddenly. It happened quietly. One of Alex's early students, someone who had been consistently applying the principles he taught, shared their story publicly. Not a story of getting rich overnight, but of avoiding repeated losses, learning discipline, and slowly building a stable approach to trading and investing. That post spread, not because it promised miracles, but because it felt real. People were tired of exaggerated success stories. They wanted something they could actually trust. And Alex's name started circulating again, but differently this time. Not as another crypto guru, but as someone focused on survival and education. New waves of people began discovering his platform. Some were beginners, some were traders who had been burned before, some were simply curious but cautious. And for the first time in a long while, growth returned. But Alex approached it carefully. He remembered what happened last time when things started going well, how quickly overconfidence could appear, how easily discipline could fade. So he stayed grounded. He improved systems instead of expanding recklessly. He strengthened support instead of chasing rapid scaling. He made sure the foundation could handle pressure before building higher. At the same time, opportunities started appearing outside his platform. Collaborations, invitations, partnerships. Some were tempting, very tempting. Large numbers were involved. But Alex didn't rush. He had learned enough to know that not every opportunity is an opportunity. Some are distractions, some are traps. After careful evaluation, he chose only a few aligned with his values, projects focused on education, transparency, and long-term development. This decision surprised many. "Are you turning down easy money?" someone asked him. But Alex understood something they didn't. Easy money often comes with hidden costs, and he had already paid enough of those in his earlier years. Meanwhile, his financial situation improved, not explosively, but steadily. More importantly, it became stable, predictable, sustainable. For the first time, Alex wasn't just surviving in crypto, he was building a life around it. But even as things improved, he remained cautious. Because deep down, he knew the market always changes, and success in crypto is never permanent. It must be earned again in every single cycle. Part 14. Building something bigger than money. Years had passed since Alex first entered the crypto world as a confused teenager chasing quick profits. Now his world looked completely different. His platform had grown into a structured ecosystem. Courses, mentorship groups, research discussions, and a community of people who no longer saw crypto as a shortcut, but as a skill that required patience and discipline. But something inside Alex had changed even more than his business. He no longer measured success in profit charts or follower counts. He measured it in outcomes. How many people avoided bad decisions? How many understood risk? How many stopped chasing hype and started thinking clearly? That became his real motivation. One day, Alex visited a small offline meetup organized by members of his community. People from different backgrounds gathered: students, office workers, small business owners. Some had been through losses, others were just starting. They weren't talking about getting rich anymore. They were talking about survival, strategy, patience. And for Alex, that was the moment everything came full circle. He remembered where he started, alone in a small room, confused by charts and overwhelmed by noise. Now he was looking at people who had avoided the same mistakes because of the lessons he shared. But success didn't make him comfortable. It made him more aware. Because he understood something deeply now. The more people depend on your guidance, the more careful you must become. So he continued improving everything slowly and deliberately. He invested in better education tools. He brought in experts to challenge ideas. He encouraged criticism instead of avoiding it. He wanted the system to be stronger than him, because he knew one day he wouldn't be the one leading it, and it needed to survive without him. Outside of work, Alex's life also changed. He no longer chased constant excitement. He valued stability, time, health, clarity. The chaos of early crypto trading felt distant now, like another life, but he never forgot it, because that chaos shaped everything he built. One evening, while reviewing feedback from the community, he paused at a message. "You didn't just teach me crypto, you taught me how to think." Alex closed his laptop and leaned back. For the first time, he didn't think about growth. He thought about legacy, and he realized something simple but powerful. Money had once been the goal, but impact had quietly become the result. Part 15. Legacy of Lessons. Years later, Alex's name was no longer associated with hype, quick gains, or risky promises. Instead, it was associated with something far rarer in the crypto world: trust. His platform had become a reference point for beginners who wanted to enter the space carefully, not with dreams of instant wealth, but with an understanding of reality. And Alex had changed too. He was no longer the teenager who reacted emotionally to every market swing, no longer the young trader chasing signals or hoping for luck. He had become something quieter but stronger, a builder of systems, a teacher of discipline, a voice of caution in a noisy industry. But his journey didn't feel like a success story in his mind. It felt like a responsibility story, because he knew how easily things could have gone the other way. One bad decision in the beginning, one refusal to learn, one moment of stubborn pride, and everything could have ended differently. That's why he never stopped reminding people of the truth. Crypto is not a guarantee. It is not easy. It is not safe. It is a tool, and like any powerful tool, it can build or destroy depending on how it is used. One evening, Alex walked through a quiet street in his hometown, the same kind of small place where everything had started. Nothing looked extraordinary. Life there was simple, steady, unchanged. But he realized something profound. You don't have to escape a small town to find success. You have to escape poor thinking patterns. And once you do that, geography stops defining your limits. Back in his office, Alex opened his laptop and looked at the community he had built. Thousands of people learning, sharing, improving, some even teaching others now. The system had grown beyond him, just as he once hoped. He wrote one final message to his community. Don't chase the market. Learn to understand it. Don't chase success. Build discipline. And never forget, risk is always part of the journey. Then he closed the laptop. Not because the journey was over, but because his role had changed. He wasn't the one trying to succeed anymore. He was helping others learn how to do it the right way. And in that moment, Alex understood the real meaning of his story. Success wasn't becoming a millionaire. Success was becoming someone who helps others avoid losing themselves while chasing it.